If Stuart Shuffman were in his early 20s today and building an independent media career, he'd probably be a TikTok influencer. But when he launched Broke Ass Stuart in the early 2000s, the natural medium was a print zine, one he printed out and stapled together himself. It was a San Francisco travel guide of sorts, and he trucked it all around the city and convinced coffee shops and bookstores to sell it on consignment. The zine was never a huge moneymaker, but it landed him a book deal, and from there it expanded into an online media brand that's widely read by the city locals. In fact, Stuart can't walk through the streets of San Francisco today without being recognized. In a recent interview, he told the Broke Ass Stuart origin story and explained how, bit by bit, it turned into a real business. Hello, I'm Simon Owens, and this is The Business of Content, the show about how publishers create, distribute, and monetize their digital content. If you want to listen to an audio version of this show, subscribe to The Business of Content wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, let's jump into the interview. Hey Stuart, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited too because I love interviewing people who have been around a while and have kind of predate some of the current trends in media. And I would describe you as kind of a proto-influencer before that word even existed. In fact, you were an influencer like in print in some ways before even joining the internet, and it's because you run this brand called Broke Ass Stuart, which started out as a zine, became a website, a series of books, and I'm sure other things as well, which we'll get into. So I'd love to get into the genesis of the original zine that you launched. I think you were living in San Francisco, and what were you, working in a bookstore or something like that?
I was working in a candy store. Yeah, it's funny, honestly, if I was 23 now and I was young and hungry, I would definitely be like a TikTok star. But in 2004, the closest thing, or 2003, 2004, the closest thing I had to that was making a zine. That was the closest thing I had to TikTok, So yeah, I was working in a candy store in North Beach in San Francisco, and this guy from my neighborhood growing up I grew up in San Diego. So this guy from my neighborhood growing up came in with the woman who's now his wife, and as they're leaving, I was like, oh, she gives me her business card. It says travel writer, and I said, hell, I want to be a travel writer, so I decided to become one and made a zine, Broke Ass Stuart's Guide to Living Cheaply in San Francisco.
Yeah, but you didn't have to travel to write it because you lived in the city it was about, right?
It's made it much easier, yes.
Yeah. And by travel writer, then you meant like a guide writer, like
a guide, yeah.
Yeah.
But that led to me, it got real popular, as far as zines go, and I got it in the hands of someone at Lonely Planet, and through that I ended up getting to write for Lonely Planet, so I became a travel writer. Yeah.
And so the zine, was it just Xeroxed and stapled together?
Literally. The very first one, I did it all myself. Literally physically paste, physically Xerox, and then physically staple. And the second time around, I was like, that is a lot of work. So I just paid, a print shop and paid for it to be done.
Yeah. And you did you have any design skills or anything like that?
No. I still barely do. It was my girlfriend at the time took a photo of me in her basement, and it was just pretty grimy looking. I look pretty grimy myself, to be honest, in that photo. Yeah, that's the only photo on the first zine. And the second zine, it had gotten popular, it got best zine in the SFA Guardian, which if you listeners at home remember what alt weeklies are, it was an alt weekly in San Francisco. So it got best zine in the SFA Guardian, and so they got more popular. So the second one, I was able to bring in some photographers and some designers to make it look pretty fresh. And then there was much more photos, and it looked pretty cool.
And so what was in that first guide? Was it just reviews of restaurants, things to do on a budget, stuff like that?
Yeah, it was 33 pages, and I distributed it all by myself through my backpack and my bus pass. And so I'd once a month fill up the bag and just hop around town. I was on 20, 30 different bookstores and little tchotchke stores, whatever. And it was little reviews. It was bars, restaurants, things to eat, drink, see, and do. It was cool. I mean, I'm pretty snarky, especially then. And so it's kind of snark-filled stuff. It was fun.
Yeah. And it wasn't coming out on a regular cadence. It was this was almost like a travel book that was supposed to last for a little while, right? It was kind of like a evergreen piece of content, not just a monthly thing that was coming out.
Right. I ended up doing two of those zines. One in 2004, one in 2005, or was it 2003? Yeah, one 2004, one 2005. And then, it was and then I was gonna do, want to do a third one, and then ended up getting to write for Lonely Planet, and then believe it or not, and then I was like, well, I still want to do, I came back, I went to Ireland for Lonely Planet, I came back from Ireland, and I was like, I still want to do Broke Ass Stuart, but I don't want to do all this distribution by myself because it's a fucking schlep, and so I literally found a book deal on Craigslist of all places. I was looking for a blowjob, and I got a book deal instead. So
back when they actually had the dating,
yeah, back when you could get blowjobs on Craigslist. What kind of world are we living in?
And so, like, you said that you were, like, just selling it yourself. So you were, like, going to, like, bookstores, coffee shops, stuff like that, and saying, hey, will you sell this on consignment?
Yeah, exactly. And then, after the first few times at a place, a lot of times people just didn't buy it outright because they knew it would sell. And then, it was kind of crazy to think that I've been doing that. That's been 21 years now. And
how lucrative was it that, like, first year?
No, not very. It's still not very lucrative, to be honest. It's the idea was like, what if I could make some extra money to go to Burning Man? And I went to Burning Man. I've never been back since. I had a good time. I'd do it again if it wasn't such a hassle. But yeah, and so it was enough to like not lose money on. Although it's not like I kept like steady records of it. I was like 24, 23. I was like, whatever, money come, money go.
So you were like still working at like bars and stuff like that while you were doing it?
Always. I tell that to everybody, especially in the creative world, like keep at least a shift someplace, don't quit your day job for real, or your night job or whatever it is, because, especially when you do your craft or your art for a living, it's nice to have another thing, A, income wise, and B, just to get out of put some fucking pants on and get out of the house,
And so you write for Lonely Planet, and then you come back, you get a book deal. So was this like a small press or?
Yeah, it was small press. And I did Broke Ass Stuart's Guide to Living Cheaply in San Francisco as a proper book. And then I eventually did a Broke Ass Stuart's Guide to Living Cheaply in New York. So I moved to New York for a year to research and write that.
Like the same publisher, like did they pay you in advance that made it worth it, or you just decided to just go for it?
I mean, the advance was probably like, I don't know, $500 maybe. Who knows? It wasn't much,
So you still had to like get like a job and everything in New York. It's not you could like spend luxurious time like writing this book.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the dream? I've never been able to just like. I mean, I still work in a restaurant once a week still. Just to like because it's. Ooh, is that my? Yeah, I see. The arts. Like I got into this to be an art dude, and I'm somehow a business dude in a pretty shitty business, media, and so I always I could make a living and sustain just off Broke Ass Stuart, but I wouldn't be able to travel and go out to eat and do like stuff like that. So if I work in a restaurant once a week, I can do all the stuff I want to do.
So you do the guidebook in New York. I think then you probably moved back to San Francisco after that?
Yeah, moved back to San Francisco, yeah.
So when did it go from being this print product to I guess what you would call a blog or something like that?
Yeah, so, I was at the very forefront of, local blogging, I guess, and it's funny because you were saying like I actually was like one of the very first influencers before that. I mean, I was on MySpace as Broke Ass Stuart. There's still probably a MySpace Broke Ass Stuart page out there someplace. I just have to ask Justin Timberlake. Isn't he on MySpace now? Me and Justin don't talk anymore. I think 2008 was it 2008? Yeah. So I moved back from New York in 2008, and so towards the very end of 2007, I started Broke Ass Stuart as a more. It had previously been a place to buy zines and shirts and stickers and stuff. And at the very end of 2007, I got it up as a website to read my thoughts and whatever. And then 2008, when I moved back to San Francisco, I connected with some other writers, and I was like, hey guys, I'm doing this cool website. You guys, the books and stuff, come be part of the website. And so since the very beginning, there's always been other voices on the site besides mine, and we had we've had, I don't know, hundreds of different writers over the years probably. So it launched as like an arts and culture destination in 2008.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and it just reminds me of an alt weekly. Like you say you're an influencer, but I think of it as like a kind of basically a digital only alt weekly. It seems like. Yeah,
it is pretty much. I mean, that's definitely what influenced me. When I started doing, there was two alt weeklies in San Francisco. There was the SF Bay Guardian and the SF Weekly, and every city had at least one. And now very few cities have any.
And so you start writing this blog. I'm assuming this entire time you're still, doing odd jobs, bartending and stuff like that. But like, how quickly did I mean, you already had like an existing brand, so it wasn't like you were launching out of nowhere, and there was obviously a lot less competition back then online. So like, how quickly did you ramp up and build like a real audience?
Well, because of the books, like the books got a lot of press, because I've always been a shameless self-promoter, and and it was something cool, and like it was funky and spunky and all that, and so it got a lot of press, and I threw big parties for the release of all the books, so I built following that way, and then the website launched, and there was local blogging, but there wasn't a ton of it, and so and this is like the Google Reader days. I don't even know. I guess Facebook was around, but I think it just departed being only for college kids. Instagram was still far out at this point, and so it picked up fairly quickly. And then in 2000 when my New York book came out, I got interviewed on Gothamist, and they said, what do you want to do next? And I said, I want a motherfucking TV show. And somebody saw that, and they reached out to me, and then we collaborated. And then in 2011, I had my own TV show on IFC. It was a travel show. It was called Young, Broke, and Beautiful, and I got to travel around the U.S. exploring the weird and wonderful in different cities. It was cool.
So you could today you would be a travel vlogger, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. It's crazy. Like, it's just the tools that people have now are amazing,
It's just kind of cool that you kind of hustled your way from gig to gig. So like you, when did you start, or how did you start monetizing the site directly?
Slowly and painfully. I remember the very first time I had like an advertiser on the site. I'm pretty sure I was so flabbergasted because this is like during the Great Recession, right? So this is like 2008, 2009. And I don't know if you have on the East Coast, on the West Coast, there's this company called Avalon, and it's like they own like big big like apartment complexes and condos, right? And so anyways, somebody from Avalon, like they reached out like, we'll give you $300 a month to be on your fucking website. And I was like, really? Things are that bad in the luxury housing or whatever? And I was like, I'll take it, And they ran for like, I don't know, maybe a year, $300 a month. And I was like, I'm making money. This is crazy.
Yeah. And then how did it ramp up from there?
Well, they disappeared eventually. I don't know. They dropped out. And then to be honest, it's just a necessity of convention kind of thing. Necessity is mother convention.
Mother of invention.
Some Frank Zappa shit. So basically, what happened was, just one foot from the other, figuring out, well, making money this way, making money that way, advertising. If I knew what I know now back in like 2015. When just we had gonzo traffic before Facebook was still giving it all for free, and before the algorithms were just battering us to death, I probably could have made some good fucking money then, But
by what, like running like programmatic ads and stuff like that?
We had some programmatic ads, but like right now we make money in a few different ways. We make money through direct sales. Hey. Does the Greek theater has a bunch of shows coming up? They want to advertise with us. That's one way. Another way is through products. Like we sell like the San Francisco Beer Passport, the San Francisco Wine Passport, which are like coupon books for bars and restaurants and stuff. And the third way is through Patreon. And while Patreon, I don't think existed then, or maybe it was just starting. That's really how we are most consistently making money. But but I don't know. Yeah, I just figured out how to monetize very slowly and surely, throwing events, throwing parties. Programmatic ads were never that successful because I never dialed it in that much. This is one of the kind of things you could make money if you really spent time on it. But
you could also make a lot of money if you're willing to just destroy the user experience too.
Exactly. We got rid of programmatic ads on my website years ago because it was like yeah, sure, it's an extra $1,000 a month we might make, but also like it was just a garbage website with it all,
And then so for like the direct sold ads, what are you selling? Are they like banner ads? Are they like native advertising sponsored posts?
It varies nowadays. I mean, we have so many different ways to do it, So, a lot of it's in our newsletter because that's we have 2 newsletters that go out a week. One is the events newsletter and one is the editorial newsletter, right? And then Instagram stuff too. So right now, for example, we one of our clients is Another Planet, and they run up most of the big concerts here in the Bay Area. And so I did like for the Greek Theater as an example, which is in Berkeley. They I did this thing just talking to the camera. Hey guys, these are these cool shows coming up at the Greek Theater, and I just list them off and have some photos and yada 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 and that kind of stuff. Getting paid for that kind of stuff. But then we have brands advertise with us. Sometimes we make cool like custom content for brands. It all varies. It's all a hustle. We still like try to stay afloat somehow.
Mm-hmm. Is it like just you going out and talking to advertisers, or
I've got a business partner too, and so he and I wear 80 hats each. We're also starting to get into the grants world too, to get like journalism grants and art grants and stuff like that. So that's a even slower moving thing. Yeah, it's the two of us, and then we're both full time, and then we have like lots of contributors, right? Writers, photographers, sometimes artists.
And so yeah, I was looking at your Patreon. Looks like you're making like $4,000 or $5,000 a month through that. Is that just kind of like pure support us if you want us to keep on existing, or did you create any perks or anything like that?
Yeah, we have some cool perks like a certain tier you get like discounts off the merch because we have a lot of different kinds of merch. Different tiers you get I like 3 or 4 times a year make really weird postcards. My buddy's got a green screen, and so it'd be like me in a hamburger suit being chased by fucking dogs or whatever, like really weird postcards. So I send those out. But a lot of most people are just like, we just want you to keep supporting because some people have really grown up reading Broke Ass Stuart. I've been doing this for 21 years. So some people it's like the part of their childhood, or their college career or whatever it is. And people who were broke in their 20s, now some of them, I live in San Francisco, so some people are fucking rich,
And so, like, do you think of yourself as like a local news outlet? Like, obviously you started as kind of like almost think of yourself as a travel book that people were picking up when they were visiting San Francisco, but like now it's like you're legitimately just local news.
Yeah, it's changed a lot as I've changed a lot, I'm a lot older than when I started this, and what was like, cheap places to eat and drink and have fun. I ran for mayor of San Francisco in 2015. I did not win, surprise, surprise, but I got like 10% of the vote, which is pretty good for like a protest campaign. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Out of all the stupid shit I've ever done, it was the smartest by far. But as I got more involved in local politics, I kind of saw behind the curtain. I got more involved in activism. I'd always been active pretty much since like the Gulf, since we went into fucking, after 9/11 and we started invading Iraq and Afghanistan. Got involved with activism a lot then, and I've always been involved, but I got even more involved with local stuff when I started running for mayor and kind of saw behind the curtain of how corrupt and fucking broken everything is. And so as I've matured, so has the content. So we were known as a place, yes, for local news, local activism, and fart jokes, of course, too.
So you spend a significant amount of time writing about like local politics and stuff like that?
It waxes and wanes. Right now, I'm sure a lot of people are seeing this. I read your newsletter, so I know you've written about this. Traffic's dying. The open web is dying. If not already dead, it's like it's got the death rattle for sure. And the ways that traditionally for the past 20 years we've all gotten traffic, those are disappearing. And I think you mentioned something about this in one of your newsletters that I thought was quite sharp. Maybe that's partially a good thing in terms of like the quality of content, because people are just chasing that fucking like that fucking that's like a
sugar
crack
high.
hit. Yeah, exactly. Of like that garbage traffic for your fucking programmatic stuff. So I think in the long run it'll be good for the quality of content. But so we're pivoting quite a bit. We're moving more into like, we are still writing, but we're pivoting to like having like people on camera talking about news going on, like in 30-second, 45-second, or 1 minute, like Instagram Reels that we're also putting on TikTok. And it's been really, thus far quite successful.
And is that like you, or is it like other contributors, or how are you doing that?
All the above. It should be more of me than it is right now, because I'm obviously the face of the name of the brand, but like I'm so busy running this stupid fucking thing that like it's hard to break off time to do the, it's like I said, I got this to be an art dude, and now I'm a fucking business dude. I'm so busy running this thing, and and right now, and also I've got a problem with projects. I'm only happy when I'm creating stuff, and so like I've got a new book coming out. We just I've always working on some kind of web project. We've done a number of web series over the years, and so I should be focused. I should do more of the on camera news stuff myself, especially with my background. I just need to break off more time to do it.
And so what are like the reels and TikTok videos? Is it just kind of reading off a script of a news that's happening, or is it like reviews like obviously TikTok reviews of restaurants are getting like really big and stuff like that? How are you approaching it?
It's all the above. Like Bunny, who's one of our contributors, she does great stuff about like she gets really wonky and in the weeds of like fun stuff. Like she went into this whole interesting deep dive, pun intended, of how the San Francisco sewer system works. And it was like actually fascinating, that kind of stuff to like, there was an earthquake in the East Bay recently. So Abe, another one of our contributors, did a whole bit about, just like, talking about how soon is the next big one coming? It's coming. These are different faults and that kind of stuff. The San Andreas fault and the, yada, yada, yada faults. So that kind of stuff, yeah. And then obviously restaurant reviews always do well. When we have clients like some of these big street parties, they come out, we go out there and they make capture cool content and then make reels about that. It all varies.
And what's the opportunity there for you? Like, how is that kind of tied back to the business?
Well, when we're doing it for clients, it's obviously that's just like the money part of it. It's part of the package we sell. But otherwise, it's the only thing that's growing right now at a steady clip, Like where our video views this year are bananas. I think we're like
But you're making the money from selling like an ad campaign to like you create a video about a concert or something, like that's how you're doing it?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Or like it varies. So let's just say you're throwing a concert, right? And we will do stuff for X amount of dollars, you get a sponsor of the newsletter, you get an ad and a smaller ad in another newsletter. Then on top of that, you get to we'll maybe do a giveaway for some tickets on the website and Instagram, and then we'll maybe make a video like, hey, go check out these concerts coming up and include that.
Are you doing anything like podcast or long form video interviews or anything like that?
No, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I was doing a podcast 2017, 2018, and if I'd stuck with it, it'd probably be big by now because hopefully, who knows? But we got some because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long, I've got a lot of connections with interesting people. And because I'm a fucking weirdo, so I attract weird people. So if we had kept doing it, because we had my buddy Matt Haney, who was at the time on the school board here, on the board of supervisors here, I think. Now he's a state congressperson in California, state representative. I've got friends who basically could have had lots of interesting people on the podcast, and we did have lots of interesting people if we stuck with it. But my podcast partner moved to Portland, and the technology in 2018 isn't what it is now. And so it's all right. I mean, I don't know if the world needs another white guy with a beard having a podcast. I'm fine with that.
So what's your kind of interaction with the community now? Like, are you trying to organize events and stuff like that?
We do events once or twice a year for the Patreon people, and then organized events. I've always found it's kind of harder to make money on that than I'd like it to be. And it doesn't always have to be about making money, but it has to be about at least make it worth it, And so it varies. I mean, I've got a big book release coming up very soon in October 17th. And which, side note, the city of San Francisco is declaring that Broke Ass Stuart Day, which is kind of
really
cool.
Like they declared, like they voted in the city council or something like that.
They will be. I mean, the vote hasn't gone through yet, but I mean, I haven't pissed off that many people. I don't think so. Hopefully, it should go through because it's a vanity thing. It's not like I'm there. But it's pretty cool. And so that's my book release day. Speaking of which, my book just came in the mail like half hour before I got here.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's my new book. Yay!
So what is the book? Is it a memoir?
It's called The Worst of Broke Ass Stuart, and it's a collection of my work. Just like I've freelanced for so many publications, So it's just like some of my best writing from my website. From I had a column in the San Francisco Examiner for 6 years, other newspapers, magazines, stuff like that. So it's just a collection of all my best stuff over the past 20 some odd years. All in one book.
What's an example of like an essay that would be that's in the book?
Let's just open this. Let's see here. So I write about bars. I've got a column for SF Gate about bars. I'm the Dev Bar column. So this was actually a different bar column. This is like 2013. This was the Hemlock Tavern is trying to kill you, and it's just like a rumination on like how. So I had this column in 2012, 13, 14 in a publication called 7x7, and it was like San Francisco was going through rapid change then. We were going from a place that was like a home for like artists and fucking weirdos, and and you could have your job in a coffee shop and then make art at night and survive, And then we had Tech Boom 2.0, and it changed everything. Suddenly people were getting evicted, yada, yada, yada. So that column kind of became a way of me, like, the column was called The Weeknighter because weekends were for amateurs. And the idea was like, I mean, basically what started off as like, hey, I'm going to go out and see what's going on tonight. And that being like a ruminations where a bar was the central character in a story about something more, you know? And so it's kind of just like talking about the changes in my life, you know, and also the changes in San Francisco and the changes of the world around me through like the lens of like what happens in a bar. And each week was a different bar. So that Hemlock Tavern was one of those. What else we got?
So that column would still be relevant today.
The bars that still exist, yeah, some of them don't exist anymore. You know, this one was talking open relationships and strong booze at the Comstock Saloon, and I was like, you know, that was a messy time in my life where I was like in the process of breaking up with somebody and maybe having an open relationship and yada yada, but also seen through the lens of a bar. Let's see, there's a bunch of my travel writings in here.
So who is the target audience for this? Is it like just people who are specifically fans of you and they want to like collect your writing in book form, or do you feel like there's a wider audience?
I think it's a cultural artifact for the Bay Area. You know, I've been part of the fabric here for so long, and like you know, enough so we're like, you know, if you're of a certain age, like if you're like 35 and above, and you've lived in San Francisco or Oakland and, you know, Berkeley, maybe not as much, but like, you know, Broke Ass Stuart's like a household name, you know? And so they may be fans of me. They might even fucking hate me. Some people fucking hate me. That's fine too. But like, you know, I've touched their life somehow. And like, and so I think like, you know, it's a cultural artifact that I think people are going to read, you know, 20, 30 years from now and be like, shit, that's what it was like, you know?
Interesting. So, like, if you walk into a coffee shop, will people recognize you, or do they have to hear your name first to know to realize who you are and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I get stopped on the street every day.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, but depending on what I'm doing and where I am, multiple times a day. And if I wear a fedora, it's constant because I got a bunch of photos in the fedora.
And is that just because of like the TikTok and Instagram videos and stuff like that, or because they've seen your like photo on the website?
All the above. I mean, you know, really ramping up the TikTok and Instagram has been more of the past year or so. But, you know, my face has been on books for years. And I ran for mayor of San Francisco with my face on a poster all around town. And I'm a bit of a party animal. So I get around, you know. And so, like, yeah, I'm around. And I guess I got a recognizable face.
Yeah, so you're like a local celebrity.
I'll take local drunk. But, yeah, local celebrity works.
Cool. So I guess like, you know, I just had another local news entrepreneur that I interviewed earlier today for my podcast. And I guess like one thing I always ask when I have people like you on is like, obviously we're in a nation of expanding news deserts and stuff like that. And I guess like how replicable do you think your model would be in other areas? Like obviously San Francisco is a very specific culture. It's a very affluent city. So it's like kind of unique. You know, not that many cities are exactly like it in the US, but like, do you think that there's more opportunity in smaller cities to basically launch these kind of like alt-weekly type blogs and stuff like that?
100%, 1000%. All you need is money. Yeah. I mean, like honestly, I've done everything I've done, and I've done a lot, man, you know, with fucking nothing. Like, you know, I financed it on my credit cards for years, you know, and then finally got those paid off, you know, and like we survive every month, knock on wood, you know, but it's dire most months. It kind of, you know, there's, you know, it's sink or swim. It's like, it's you know, feast or famine a lot of times. But I mean, if I had, what I've been able to do with nothing, if somebody gave me like, I don't know, like fucking $10 million, I could replicate this and fucking knock it out, you know? And because I actually think that local news is far more sustainable than, you know, something like Gawker, which obviously doesn't exist anymore, but that kind of thing, you know, because like local news, like, you know, I have friends that have public, you know, brands, media brands, whatever, they're much more followers than mine, but I'm far more easy to sell ads because, local people trust our voice because they're familiar with it, and way more than like national news or, you know, some jackass on fucking, you know, YouTube, hopefully. But like, on top of that, we can go to like, you know, the dry cleaner or the restaurant and be like, hey, you know, want to buy ads, you know, and there's ways to do that. I think that you can set up more affordably too.
And do you feel like they buy ads as, you know, one, to obviously to benefit their business, but like also as kind of like a form of patronage or anything like that?
Some people, yeah. I mean, I think that at the core, yes, some people for sure, but I think at the core, most people are like, well, yeah, I'd like to help you out, but you got to help me out too. It's obviously first and foremost take care of themselves, then also help us keep going for sure.
So when you're looking ahead, like 3 years from now, what do you hope to be doing that you're not doing today?
I don't know. I'm so bad at fucking thinking ahead like that. Everything's been like one foot in front of the other. Hope that we've figured out a way to make it less feast or famine. We have ideas like we're applying for different grants. In an ideal world, we bring in someone who could really just focus 100% on revenue, instead of me and Alex, my partner, my business partner, and I having to do revenue and editing and fucking business development and all that stuff, right? It'd be cool if we had one person dedicated to revenue, because I know what to do. We're doing it. We just need someone who can do that full time. And part of that would be really helping build out the membership program on Patreon even more. We've got a pretty solid following, but there's room to grow for sure. And if we had someone who could dedicate them part time just to that, we could blow that shit up.
Yeah, totally. But you don't want to put anything behind paywalls or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, I think that at least the way that we're creating content right now, I don't think the traffic's not there anymore. And I think everybody's seen that. I think everybody's seen that. I mean, the New York Times and maybe the San Francisco Chronicle, maybe not as much, but they're still probably seeing it too. They're just their domain authority is just extreme. But I bet you even the most popular websites in the world that rely on traffic are fucking seeing a major squeeze. So it's how do we iterate? For now we are pivoting to doing more video stuff until once again they pull the rug out from under us once again, and we have to iterate again, and then you figure out what the next thing is.
Do you still do the zine, the print zine?
I put out a something in 2022. Yeah, I did. It was cool, and it was kind of a very, very small version of this kind of. It was kind of got the idea going for this book. It was I think 80 pages of and that stuff was just about San Francisco. It was called Slouching Towards Neverland, and shout out to Joan Didion, and so and that kind of put the kernel in my head to do this book. So that was 80 pages, whereas this was 350 pages. So yeah, I mean, I have to make things. I'm not happy unless have projects going on, making stuff, Although right now I'm overwhelmed because I've got so much on my plate.
I think you should do, I don't know if you've been following my newsletter. I've been writing about kind of this return of print, but print being treated very differently, of not trying to be mass media, but being a subscription, Precious. A subscription perk, a collectible item and stuff like that. I think you should do one zine a year and make it a perk for one of the upper tiers for the Patreon, and it would not just get people to sign up for the Patreon, but it'd be this branding thing, this physical thing that people can hold in their hands every year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. We did last year. We got a grant, a nice size grant, a $50,000 grant, and we made a literary magazine, and we gave out something almost 5,000 copies for free throughout San Francisco. And we got some really stellar writers, people who've been Pulitzer Prize winners, and and big names locally. And it was a gift to the city, and it was so cool to do that, because who doesn't want beautiful fucking writing that they can hold? Because I do think, as you see, I mean, you're probably maybe my age, a little bit younger, and you probably remember cameras when they made film. I see the young kids these days, and they're excited for Polaroids because it's something they can fucking hold. Because the digital world and what we consume doesn't make us full, intellectually, or it leaves us hanging in a way, and not the same way that holding a book, smelling a book, it does, or whatever a physical product is. It's just we're fucking monkeys, we want to touch and feel and taste things. And so I think that, yeah, you're right. I think there's something to that. I just need to figure out how to make it happen.
So for the grants, is it hard to apply for them when you're not a nonprofit, or do you have a fiscal sponsor?
We have a fiscal sponsor. Yeah, they're very hard to get if you don't have a fiscal sponsor. You're not a nonprofit. But we have a fiscal sponsor, which has been very helpful.
Okay, cool. And so you're right. You're all these it seems like a lot of foundations are turning their eyes towards local news and putting aside money for that. So you're hoping to tap into that well, basically.
Yeah, and it's hard. It can be hard with the name of the publication being Broke Ass Stuart. I mean, I tell you, if I knew when I was 24 that I'd still be doing this when I was 44, maybe I would have chosen a different name. But here we are. So, yeah, I think if you're in the Bay and you know Broke Ass Stuart, like, you know, we've had for years the SF Symphony was one of our advertisers. You know, so I mean, fancy shit, right? But like, if you don't, because they know what we can bring, they know we can provide. But if you're like something that's not familiar with it, you're like, why would I advertise with something with the name Broke or Ass in the name? You know, but so that could be a little bit of a holdup, especially if they're not like a local nonprofit or foundation. But you know, it's actually getting kind of difficult right now because the federal government are a bunch of fucking bastards, and they've been cutting off the funding for pretty much everything. And so, you know, despite what Ronald Reagan said, so trickle-down economics works. It just works backwards. Only poverty trickles down, not wealth. And so we're seeing that in the grant sphere right now. You know, the more grant, there used to be a lot more grants, and now there's less of that grant money making it down to all the different things because the tap's being turned off. You know. So it's harder and harder, and like there's more competition than there was. But I think you know, we've been able to get some grants here and there. You know, and you know, the big grant we got was because I was very friendly with the organization who was giving it out for the nonprofit grant or for the literary magazine grant. But yeah, we're always trying to do something. You know, because I'm sure a lot of the people who listen to this podcast and read your newsletter, they're probably in a similar boat as me, where they're like, yeah, we make good money sometimes, and we have to figure it out the rest of the time, you know?
Okay, Stuart, those are all the questions I had for you. Where can people find you online?
BrokeAssStuart.com. On pretty much all platforms, Broke Ass Stuart. Like I said, no one else wants that stupid fucking name, so I'm easy to find. And please check out my book, The Worst of Broke Ass Stuart, which, like I said, I just got today in the mail. It's funny, you can see it says here, it says, he doesn't even play ukulele, because I don't play ukulele. And if you like my snarky attitude, you'll love the book.
All right, well, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.